You're listening to the podcast called What No One Knows. I'm your host, Lisa Marie Garcia. Please join us as I talk with some of the most important influencers, from entrepreneurs to C-suites to founders to venture capitalists. You will want to know their answer to the question, what no one knows. Thank you for joining. Hello. Thank you for joining our podcast, What No One Knows. This is Lisa Marie Garcia, and I am here on a Wednesday afternoon in a sunny but not too hot, thank goodness, Tampa Bay afternoon in Wave Studio 1 at the Tampa Bay Wave offices. I'm very happy that you joined us for another episode of our podcast. And today in studio, I have Olivier Millour. I can't say it. Millour. See how it is. See, you should never practice someone's name because it never pays off. Just kidding. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited for people to get to know you and the work that you do and everything you related. How's that to make a hashtag? You related. All right. Let's get serious here. So, first of all, I'd like people to understand your background. It's international.
Yes.
And very entrepreneur-centric, which is what we talk a lot about on this show. And so, and I understand you're an FSU graduate, but maybe just take us through growing up here and a little bit about your profession before maybe we get to your work with Junior Achievement.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me, Lisa. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk a little bit about myself and the work that we do at JA and our relationship with the Wave. Pretty weird background. You know, I was born in France. You talked entrepreneurship. My dad was an entrepreneur, actually, so he was in the medical space. When nuclear medicine was a whole new field in the 80s, he developed one of the first private clinics in the country that uses nuclear medical technology. So entrepreneurship's really always been part of our family history. Moved to the States when I was about 7 years old, down in South Florida. Moved up to Tampa when I was 10 or 11. Went to Bartels Middle School for my 8th grade and Wharton High School for high school. And went out to Florida State. I was always really interested in political science, international affairs. I was a big history geek, social studies, geography, you name it. So I knew that Florida State was a good school for that. And did my 4 years there, loved it. When I moved on, I knew that I wanted to go back to France. So we hadn't visited much when I was a kid growing up. And so the one thing I knew I wanted to do was go back and spend some time there as a young adult. So I lived a little over a year. I spent all of 2019, a little bit plus, in France. I was teaching English, actually. So not quite using my degree yet, but certainly that international affairs aspect. And of course, really important to me was retracing my roots. So I got to spend time with my grandmother, who I hadn't seen in so long, and lived on the couch of a friend that I hadn't seen in 15 years, who just welcomed me with open arms and spent, had my 3 months in Emily in Paris, phase and all that. So that was wonderful. And then upon coming back to the Tampa area, where my, my parents are here in Florida, figuring out what I wanted to do, and I went in and had an inside sales job here in the West Shore area that unfortunately during COVID, many of us got let go from. So I'm like, I'm 25 years old and I no longer have a job. I didn't think that was on my bucket list, And, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I did apply for the State Department. That was always a dream of mine, was to be a diplomat and work with the State Department. And, I passed the exam, but I didn't get called up for an interview. It was the pandemic, so I think there was just a lot of there wasn't a lot of openings at the time. And, I was really struggling to find work and find my next path. I had some economic challenges with unemployment and all that. So many people did. And I, finally, after 8 months I think I was delivering pizzas, really that's what I was at.
That time in our history too. It was very treacherous for everybody.
It was just, I did not expect any of that, especially at that stage of my life. And I reached out to an old contact of mine, Richard George, who's the president of Junior Achievement at Tampa Bay, because all throughout high school here in Tampa, I was a JA student. In fact, after my freshman year, I got a letter in the mail to join a summer career program that Junior Achievement was putting on in partnership with CareerSource. It was a 5-week-long summer career program. And part of that was the JA Be Entrepreneurial program, which I fell in love with. I wasn't as interested in the science, technology, engineering, math side of things, but the company program was really engaging, and I loved it. And me and my team took it so seriously that we ended up winning the countywide competition. I went on to be a spokesperson for Junior Achievement at 14 years old. I came back and earned my first paycheck ever as an intern for JA my sophomore year, helping to bring the next cohort along. My senior year of high school, I was called up with my quote-unquote business partner to represent all of Junior Achievement students in Washington, D.C. for a summit on the Capitol with all of the JA presidents from across the country, some representatives from JA worldwide. I got to introduce Senator Marco Rubio at the time to do a keynote speech in the Senate chamber. I really think that that's what led me to want to kind of study that political science and international affairs route. And I reached out to Richard. I said, "Sir, do you remember me? I need some help." And he goes, "I'll tell you what, we'll bring you on part-time, for a little bit, and we'll connect you with some of our partners." We have over 100 amazing partners that represent the Tampa Bay business community. Yeah. And after a couple months just working development and learning a little bit about everything, and I, wasn't able to secure something with one of our partners, but Richard said, "Hey, we'd love to keep you on full-time as a manager of development and partnerships." And 5 years later, I'm now vice president of community and government affairs, and I could not be more fulfilled in my career. And it's all thanks to Junior Achievement, and now here I am back, and I get to do what I did 10 years ago, but on a much larger scale and as part of my career. So I'm very blessed in that way.
Wow, so wonderful. You did that. We ran the race with you there on your life path, so to speak, your career path. Very cool. And I was going to circle back because I read in your bio about that you had received a scholarship, so you talked about that with JA and being, a very young entrepreneur and very young spokesperson and such. What do you think is a credit, if you remember back those not that many years ago for you, but still a little bit ago. What do you think was a great quality that you had as a high schooler that let you take to that let you, you get many opportunities when you're young, but you don't always have the skills to be able to take advantage of them or to excel in them. What would you say thinking back?
I think it was my parents, my upbringing, absolutely. I had that entrepreneurial side, my father who was very successful, and he went through his old tribulations with, he tried to retire early, which was why I moved to the States, and you had the market crash in 2008. He kind of had to start over. You have my mom, who's probably one of the friendliest and has the best people skills of anyone I've ever met. She can make friends with anybody, at the grocery store. I remember being embarrassed as a kid, like, "Why are you talking to the clerk?" And now I talk to the clerk. So really just that fearlessness of just being social and also that understanding of, you got to take opportunities as they come. In fact, when I got that letter to join that program, I was very hesitant to do it. I'm like, I don't want to go back to school over the summer. And my mom said, "I did JA when I was growing up in the 80s in Missouri. Oh. And this sounds way cooler than what I did and way more evolved." So I think it was really just the upbringing that my parents gave me and kind of having a front row seat of the amazing life and career that they built together. Really, I think kind of just had it innately in me to be recognition of what I need to do to seize those kinds of opportunities and excel in them.
It's the modeling, right? And it's the role models that you got to, see and observe. And I love what you said about, your mom, that she's this people person. There's many, many smart people that are brilliant in some ways, but they have zero people skills, and it just hurts them and hinders them, right? And it's the ones usually that are the most successful that have the people skills combined with their other skill set. So very cool. All right, well, that answers that question.
And I just want to add to that, too. It's so fulfilling because so much of what we try to impart at Junior Achievement through our learning experiences is that those, we call them core competencies, employability skills, soft skills, whatever you want to call them. They're timeless. They're always going to be important. I would argue they're more important now than ever. And so the fact that I was a beneficiary of that, but now I get to help lead the team through our amazing partners and putting on experiences for 45,000 plus students in the community to harness those skills as well.
Well, let's stay there because I really wanted you to share with our listeners about Junior Achievement and the work they do. It's funny that you say that. My father was a I don't know if it's the right word to say mentor advisor, but when he was a young manager in AT&T, and I guess AT&T had a partnership. And so I would hear what he, talk about a little bit, but that's really almost all I know about it besides the broad strokes that most people know.
Yeah.
So tell us specifically, like for instance, I was asking the ages.
Right.
Tell about the ages of junior achievement, what you're doing here, maybe even specifically in Tampa.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
So we're part of a global organization that's been around for over 100 years. And the mission today is still what it was back then, which is essentially preparing young people for work. And we do that by focusing on financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness. And we've historically been in the K through 12 space. Here in Tampa, we primarily focus on 3 main learning experiences, which have the deepest impact on young people. JA BizTown in 5th grade, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary of that experience this year. And that's where students get to have a job for the day. So they come to our campus that looks like a town. You've got Tico, you've got the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Rays, the Lightning, a City Hall, Fifth Third Bank, an entire... It's a macroeconomic simulation where these 5th graders they've got their job they interviewed for and they act out their job. We've got an entrepreneurship hub in there as well where they get to explore entrepreneurship and even pitch a business idea to our volunteers that are there. Cool. The Tampa Bay Wave actually co-sponsors that and is involved. And we've got a whole wall of Tampa Bay entrepreneurs that our students can have an interactive simulation where they can be paired with an entrepreneur locally and kind of feel like they can grow up to be them. So that's our 5th grade experience, and we serve about 20,000 students in the Tampa Bay region. Every Hillsborough County 5th grader comes through JA BizTown. 8th grade, just next door, is JA Finance Park, and that is a simulation in personal finance. So students go through a personal finance simulation where they're given a random profile. You're a welder that makes $70,000 a year. You have a spouse and 2 kids. Now go and explore the different storefronts that represent line items on a budget, right? So they're going to Raymond James to learn about investments. They're going to Blooming Brands, Outback to learn about how much they should spend on eating out versus Publix where they're learning about their groceries, AAA for their car insurance, right? And so they're exploring what it takes to manage a budget, and then they go shopping based on their profile, and then they take a 30-minute break to go into our career center and explore careers that align with their interests. And then finally, really the deepest impact that we make is at the high school level, which is with 3DE, which is our high school instructional model, born out of Atlanta, Georgia, launched here in Tampa Bay in 2020. And that is a partnership, like with everything, with our local school districts and our business community, where we have a school within a school model. So we're currently in 13 schools in the Tampa Bay region. We have about 1/3 of all students at each high school that are in 3DE, and it's interdisciplinary all 4 years. And what they're doing is we're taking the standards-based learning of education. We're not changing what they learn, but we're having it be applied to project-based learning in the form of business case methodology and entrepreneurship. So our local partners and national partners, our students work to solve real-world problems that those companies are facing in the classroom during school. And then in 11th grade, they actually create their own business and they present it back to the community, and they can actually transform it into a real business. And that's where the Wave has been very supportive. They brought in some mentors to help prepare some of our students at Hillsborough High School this past year, gearing them up for a big innovator showcase at Raymond James's headquarters in St. Pete. And then now what we're really looking at, I mentioned K through 12, but now we're moving on to the 18 to 25 space because there's been a really big transformation in workforce development, looking at beyond the traditional 4-year approach. Are there other pathways that young people can take to pursue a career? And we're now piloting some initiatives that are going to help place our students directly into the organizations that have been supporting us for a long time.
Very cool. So start back at BizTown. So yes, I am a mom of 2 daughters, and both my daughters went through BizTown in 5th grade. I didn't remember it was 5th grade. It was super fun. I can just see them right now in their little suit outfits and pictures I took and thinking it was so cool. I was one of the parents that wanted to go on that field trip because it was so cool.
Wonderful.
Right? I love that part. And then so the 3DE, is that what you called it? So that is somewhat new, 2020. Mm-hmm. And developing that, and then I know that I saw something you reminded me of from the Wave, asking for volunteers to help, like you said, to mentor those high school students and entrepreneurs. So such great work. I mean, I don't want to make it simple, but is it simple if there's parents that are listening and say, man, I really would like to have my children involved in it. Maybe they have high schoolers. Is it as simple as them going to the website, or what's the best thing to do?
Sure. Yeah. So
you know?
if it's for Bisstown and Finance Park, I would recommend just contacting their child's teacher or their school, making sure that they're signed up to come. I mean, we have a pretty big market capture of the schools for 5th and 8th grade. And we don't just serve public schools either. We serve private schools, parochial schools, homeschool groups, at-risk youth groups. So really any educational institution can participate as long as we've got the time and capacity for them. 3D is a little bit more complicated because that is such a deep partnership with the school district, and it's a heavy lift on our organization. It's not as simple as a teacher or parent calling and say, let's implement it here. I mean, this is having a transformative impact on the entire school. Right. But we are definitely asking parents if they want to, talk to their school about, is there an interest for 3DE? If there's anyone at the school district to learn about expanding it or just learning more, they can reach out on our website. That's something we're actually looking to do now that we've gotten so deep in education, is how can we engage parents more? Right. Because we know that the parents are the ultimate educators, in the home, and I can speak for myself, right, supporting their child's education. And so they're more than welcome to reach out on our website, and we can work together to get their kid involved in something. Yeah.
Does the high school JA program, they do have pitch competitions? Is there a part of that, right, that has
Absolutely.
pitch and
yeah. In fact, our Innovator Showcase, which we held here on our campus last year, but for the past 3 years, in close partnership with Raymond James, who's one of our largest partners, we have their CTO and their top executives as the judges panel. We have the top team from each school. It's really exciting because it's part of their school. It's not a club or anything like that. So you can almost imagine like a sports complex regional competition where you've got Pinellas and Hillsborough and Polk kids competing against each other, but this is for entrepreneurship. And they're actually presenting to the leaders at Raymond James. This past year, Gibbs High School in South St. Pete won the competition. And what we're really proud of is that the students in 3DE mirror the demographics of the host high school. So this is not something that you necessarily choice into or that you have to apply for or meet any kind of criteria. We take a subset of the population that's across all factors. Right, so you've got students that maybe otherwise would never have had opportunities like this. Regardless of where they're from, this is a tremendous opportunity, but especially for those kids, they get to see their future in a whole new light thanks to what our partners are able to bring to them.
I think it's just wonderful. I mean, as professionals on the other side of it, I mean, I wish I had all this, right? Where, before getting into your career and that, and just we all know now, there's not one straight path. It's not go to university, get your undergrad degree. Congratulations, you're hired, you're making 6 or 7 digits right away. I mean, that's just like so fairy tale. And this is, you're bringing the real life to their age group and exposing them to otherwise not experiences that they haven't otherwise would be exposed to. So I love this so much. So let's talk a little bit about the Wave too. And you've mentioned, how the Wave's been part of JA. From your experience, you've been around the Wave for many years now, and so you've seen a lot of the growth with the Tampa Bay Wave. It's every time I come in here, it's like, how much, what else are you doing there? Blue Wave, I'm getting it wrong, a cohort that's never been done with NOAA before. But what would you say is, something that you think is very special or unique, or something that's out of the ordinary that you want people to know about in the Wave and with the experience you've seen with them?
I think what I can most comfortably say is the people at the Wave. I mean, Linda and her team, and Dee and Pratt. I mean, everyone that I've had the pleasure of connecting with, and we resonate with it so much at JA. It's so clear that the entire team, led by Linda's vision and the board, everyone involved, is so mission focused on making Tampa Bay, the tech entrepreneurship hub for the country, and so dedicated to exploring every avenue to make sure that happens, right? And that's where the JA partnership comes in. They see the value in what we're doing, preparing young people for entrepreneurship and exposure to high growth careers, and ideally keeping them here. We want to keep the talent here. They can do like what I did. They can leave and come back, right? But that was really evident from the beginning, and just the graciousness of the entire team to support our efforts. And and to be innovative, of course, they're in the entrepreneurship space. They are with innovators all the time. But when we look at the partnerships that we've explored and the ways that we can work together, it's always been in pursuit of it being innovative, creative, but most importantly, impactful. And they understand too that the brighter that our youth is and the better prepared they are, that's more entrepreneurs, that's greater economic development, that's our next cohort, right? Yeah. And so we feel really excited about all the potential that there is moving forward, as both of our organizations are kind of at our highest growth it's ever been. I mean, there's so much room for us to continue to work together. We're very excited.
It's a great place. It's a great place for you guys and the Wave.
Absolutely.
And really, it's, there's a lot of negativeness, but, as far as the Tampa Bay business community, the Tampa Bay tech community, right? The ecosystem, I think, is thriving, and many professionals I know are speaking the same thing that you're saying. We're at our top right now, and it's only going to get better.
It is.
So very good news. And yes, many people I've interviewed on this show do say it has to do with the people. You're right about that. And really, it has to do really with the community, with the Tampa Bay Wave and their dig in and support of the community and being part of it, being either supported, like JA will supports them, but then right back at you.
Exactly.
Right? They supportive. I love it. So thank you for sharing that and reminding people that are listening that that's super important as part of the Tampa Bay Wave. So as so your experience, well, first being a young entrepreneur, but then also being around young entrepreneurs all the time, as you are with JA and what you're promoting. Tell me what you think is that, what do we call it? The it factor or an X or just some quality that you recognize as you're working and you're seeing, your own high schoolers that are in the program where, someone might stick out more than another. And what would you say is something that you've recognized after all your years in the space of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, and I love the way you framed it, but I also want to add in the piece that I've had the tremendous pleasure to be surrounded by, but it's also like our board of directors, a lot of them are huge entrepreneurs, and they've been the driving force behind moving our mission forward. I think of Brian Murphy from ReliaQuest, Scott Price from Align. I mean, they've been supporting junior achievement in some cases for decades, and I get to sit in the board meetings where they're talking about what's our strategy to make the biggest impact on our youth and on our education system. And so I get to see it from both ends. I get to see the success on this end and then the students coming up. And I think to answer your question, it's not going to be anything new, and I'm not an expert. I think a lot of people recognize this in entrepreneurship, but it's just that willingness to take risks.
Yes.
That willingness to look back and say, and to never rest on your laurels, right?
Yes.
When I look at our president's leadership, we always joke, he's like, I'm content, but I'm never satisfied. We can always do better. And, he's really built a legacy which has earned JA, recognition as the top junior achievement area in the country. Out of 100 offices, we're ranked #1 for impact per student, which we're really proud of.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That's huge.
But that's really all the people that are involved, and that entrepreneurial spirit of saying, okay, we had success last year. How are we going to make it better? What are we going to do to improve? There's never just sitting around going, hey, let's just pause for a second and everything will be fine. Businesses don't want to do business with organizations that are like that. And I think, to your point, that's really what's been growing this region so much. I think there's an ethos about just continuous improvement and innovation, and how can we work together to solve problems collectively. And so when I look at our young people at the schools, and I'm in the gymnasium at Chamberlain or Jefferson, and I see those that excel are the ones that are so confident in their vision and willing to put in the work too. I mean, it's high school, right? There's a ton of other things they could be distracted by, but you've got that one or two, young kids in the group that are like, I stayed up all night to put together my presentation, and it shows, right? So it's that combination of willingness to take risks, don't ever stop innovating or trying to improve, and then just put in the work. I think entrepreneurship can be really flashy sometimes, like, look, I've made it, I'm all successful, but we don't always know how much work and what they've had to sacrifice to get there. Yeah.
Right. There's no overnight success
on
that, but even though it might look that way.
That's right.
No, excellent. And I agree also, and there's so much research that shows that being a risk taker, and I always say I'm a calculated risk taker. Right. The calculated just started in the last 15 years or so of my life, but business, career, but still nonetheless, right? Say yes and then figure it out later. That's just a basic 101 trait of almost all entrepreneurs, right? So thank you for bringing that up. I was thinking as you were talking, and it sounds like you have such you're being fed so richly in terms of, like you were talking about, the just majorly successful entrepreneurs to the high schoolers and the fifth graders and such. What would you say, though, that there is something that you learned in your career that you only learned through experience, or you at least observed it, and it was one of those things that you couldn't, it wasn't in the MBA studies, it was, an experience type lesson?
Sure.
What would you say?
And I'm a proud bachelor degree only, so I didn't even get the MBA experience. I think there's a lot of things I could say there, but what I've learned the most and what I can attribute the most to any success I may have had and this fulfillment that I feel in my career is relationships are the most important thing by far. I have not gotten anywhere I am today in anything beyond just work, but certainly work, without focusing really intently on relationships and true, genuine relationships. A lot of people think, especially in business, that a relationship has to be transactional, or that has to be, the driving force behind wanting to build a relationship. And I can tell you, working at a nonprofit where we are blessed to, every day we live generosity, we live gratitude, because there are people that are giving their time, their talent, their treasure to us when they don't have to. And it's because they love what we're doing and they believe in us. And the relationship that has to be nurtured around that is truly genuine appreciation and interest, and we want to know about you and why you're supporting us, and how can we ensure that we're being good stewards of your resources and of your time. And I think that stems all the way back to growing up and the relationships that I built through the opportunity I was given in junior achievement. I remember being 14 years old and sitting at a gala and feeling so out of my element, and just having the people around me just telling me be yourself, and I've never let go of that. And personally too, your relationships are the most important thing. And I think if we treat professional relationships the way we do personal relationships, where there's no conditions, no strings attached, we have some common goals, and we have some goals that are selfish, so to speak, but that doesn't mean that we can't all share and participate and help each other out in some way.
Well, you just gave us the hashtag. So the hashtag for this show, for your show, is true, genuine relationships.
I'll take it.
100%. And I couldn't agree with you more. In a relationship, whether it's transactional or non-transactional or professional or personal, it has to be a win-win. And I just don't know how many times I meet people that don't get that.
Right.
It's going to fizzle out. It's
right.
never going to work if it's one-sided. And I know. My team knows it. I always say, "Come on, win-win. How can we help them? We appreciate that they're helping us, but how can we help them? You got to look at it that
Absolutely.
way, both sides." So,
Absolutely.
Thank you for bringing that. That's awesome. And I knew it as I look at the clock here on the podcast that we would run through this interview. It's been great. You've had so much.
Thank you.
To share with us, and I'm glad that we're getting a little bit of understanding of the greatness that is JA and your journey here and the Wave. So I think I'm ready to ask you the last question. So the question is, the name of the show, we ask people, what is it that no one knows? So how would you answer that question?
Well, I wouldn't pull out like a really cool fact about history or geography or something, but I won't bore the audience with that. I think, you asked me before the show something about me. So I'm a musician. I love music. I play on the weekends sometimes. I've been trying to get a little bit more comfortable with sharing that out, because, it's like two sides of your life. You've got your professional life, and you've got the thing that you do to have fun. So I'm a big, I had a band in college. I've written on my own music. I had a fleeting dream of pursuing music fully, but it's something that I love to do just for myself, and I enjoy it a lot.
What instrument do you play, and what kind of genre? You got to tell us more on that one.
Yeah, I play piano, I play guitar, I sing. I'm a big, I'm a old soul, so I love, old rock, the blues, folk music. I mean, I love a bunch of stuff. I've played funk, I've played it all. No, I like really just that kind of classic sound from the 60s and 70s.
Very cool. Very good fact. And
Thank
you know,
you.
you can't. There's no two sides to us. We're all one.
Yes.
And now the word is out.
So I'll say if
So there
anyone
you
is
go.
looking for like someone to play in the back of cocktail reception area,
There you
you know,
go.
I'm
They
free.
can hire you.
They can.
All right. They might not be able to afford you, but they can
No,
hire you.
I'm very cheap because I do it for me more than anyone. Trust me.
I'm kidding. All right. Well, thank you again for being in studio here at Tampa Bay Wave offices, and thank you for joining What No One Knows, the podcast.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to our show, What No One Knows. If you'd like more information regarding our guests, it's in the description below, as well as if you'd like to work with our publishing and promotion team, that you can also find in the links. Thank you.